Dark Souls 3 revs its engines from the start, giving you a tough boss fight within the first 10 minutes of playing. It holds no hands, packs a strong punch, and delivers a gameplay loop that gamers will find addicting or utterly miserable. Before we get too far, if you've enjoyed my content, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter. I want to do all my reviews at a decent quality, so I'll be cutting down to one review every 2 weeks, but I will be starting some new content soon unrelated to reviews, so stay tuned for that. Alright, enough of that. Let's dive in. The beauty of Dark Souls is its gameplay design loop. It's shockingly simple how it all works. You explore vast dungeons and landscapes, fighting anything and everything you cross paths with. All your bells and whistles are there from any other action melee RPG. Light and heavy swings, dodging and parrying, and a bunch of different weapons with custom movesets to complement your playstyle. The great thing about the stats system is that it's incredibly straightforward, focusing on every core mechanic in the game. Want more health? Boost your vigor. Want more stamina? Boost your endurance. Want to kill things faster? Boost whatever stat your weapon favors. The increments are small, but as you level up fairly often, you'll notice your character progressing. And while stats might be great, they're only half the package. To stay alive in the unforgiving land of Lothric, you're going to need some gear. With a plethora of weapon options, I'm sure you'll find something you like. Depending on how much weight you can handle, you might want to deck yourself out in some sweet armor. Or not. Rings are another powerful way to customize your character, essentially augmenting your build to its peak potential. There's plenty of variety too, so I recommend trying out as many as you can. The combat is the bread and butter of Dark Souls. Everything can kill you easily, so you're always one misstep away from getting crushed to death. It's this intense combat that really gets your heart racing. It's also what leaves many players frustrated and unwilling to continue. Odds are you're going to be playing through the same area a lot. On the flip side though, learning and overcoming each challenge feels incredibly rewarding. Whether it's a specific area or a boss fight, when you finally overcome it all, that thrill, that rush, it's a really powerful driving force for the player. Every basic action and attack you make uses stamina, so keeping an eye on how much you have left is key. The blue bar represents how much magic you have left available. Whether it's pyromancy, miracles, or sorceries you're casting, they all draw from this pool. The combat mechanics may be straightforward, but more importantly, it's also smooth. Unless you're in the always miserable swamp area, the frame rate stays pretty steady, which is really important in an action RPG. Animations always looked and felt fluid. The system definitely works in a way that both the knowledge of the mechanics and straight up skill are both vital. You can be fancy and parry incoming attacks, or you can roll around like me and do a barrel roll. Every strategy and combination of stats has its ups and downs, and there's definitely enough weapons and weapon infusions to support your playstyle. You can also summon other players to help out or be invaded yourself, and depending on what covenant you're in, different rewards will be divvied out. Direct contact with other players can be rare, but you will see a plethora of helpful or trolling messages left by other people along the way. You can even inspect bloodstains to see how other people died. It's an interesting way to do multiplayer, but I think most people can agree that it could be easier to connect, especially if you're trying to play with friends. That being said, when you do participate in the multiplayer, it can be really some of the most exhilarating experiences in Dark Souls 3. Especially when you're getting pitted up against more than one opponent. It really puts your build to the test, and thankfully there's plenty of variation between player builds where it doesn't feel like you're fighting the same archetype every time. Another star quality of Dark Souls is its rich exploration. You don't always know what lies around the corner, whether it's a trap, a horde of enemies, or maybe you can finally see a cool looking castle off in the distance. The game always shows you a new way of going forward. The world has many branching paths and secret locations, and coming across them always makes you feel clever. Every location was wildly different too, offering new and terrifying enemies and challenges. Although, by the end of the game, it definitely did feel like there were a dozen too many churchy cathedral areas. Lastly, the series does pride itself on being difficult and doesn't throw any of its punches. If you're not looking for anything challenging, this game does not have an easy mode, and I'd look somewhere else for your entertainment. It's definitely a love or hate it game. The narrative of Dark Souls is probably one of the most hands-off in an RPG. You can either dive into its decaying world and soak up every bit of lore, or you can kill every boss you find and still have a great time playing. Almost every item has a description that clues you into the world, and each character you interact with also drops hint of their role to play. It's a story that intentionally leaves holes in its timeline to let the player fill in the gaps with their imagination. It's a mysterious and old world that tells a lot, not just through dialogue, but its environmental design. Whether it's a collapsed bridge, a shanty town, or cursed catacombs, the setting around you will tell you a lot if you look closely enough. There are multiple endings, and multiple branching stories with many Dark Souls characters. You may think you're doing something you're supposed to, but most of your actions do have consequences, and may find you squaring up against someone previously aligned with you. The hands-off approach to the narrative isn't normally something I'm big on, but Dark Souls reinforces its story so well through environment design and a few key lines from its characters. It keeps the world of Lothric mysterious enough without having me scratch my head wondering what's going on. Dark Souls is a game that can be both beautiful and a bit lacking at the same time. While the set pieces and monsters are well defined, some of the textures on the buildings and landscapes are a little bit too bland compared to the richly detailed games such as God of War or the Uncharted series. In no way is it a deal breaker, but it does show where the developers had to cut back to ensure the game ran smoothly, especially in its wide open areas where more objects are visible. The art direction is where the game really deserves praise. With a billion fantasy worlds out there, Lothric is a distinct and fully realized setting. Its gothic architecture and time-worn environments are iconic. From the castles towering in the clouds to the poison-filled swamps, everything feels connected and archaic. The monster design also deserves its own praise. From slugs to giants, every creature trying to kill you has had time, detail, and polish put into it. I never ran into an enemy that looked out of place, as they blended seamlessly into the dark world. The music in Dark Souls, while incredibly orchestrated and sang hauntingly, can feel a bit samey after a while. I love listening to the soundtrack, but at the same time, I couldn't tell you which song went with which boss. The tone is kept the same though, moody yet epic and exhilarating. I think it would have been better overall if some of the tracks had stood out a bit more. The sound effects are also well done. With every swing of your blade and booming impact, everything has a bit of heft to it. The menu noises aren't intrusive, and most of the sounds are easily recognizable, like when you're summoning an ally or chugging your Estus. Dark Souls 3 is an amazing game, but does still have its niche audience. If you're easily frustrated from dying a lot, this isn't the game for you. The developers took basic combat mechanics, polished the hell out of them, and built the entire game around this core, and with crazy amount of depth and customization and exploration, you'll more than likely be playing through multiple times. Dark Souls 3 gets a 9 out of 10. If you're looking for a new Souls-like experience, the remastered version of Demon's Souls just released for the PS5. Or if you're looking for something a bit cheaper, try Bloodborne. It's easily the best of the Souls-likes. Once again, if you enjoyed the review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. And in the comments down below, let me know what your favorite Souls-like game was. This is Game Ghost, signing off. Stay safe out there.